Each year, millions of visitors from around the world visit New York City, the Big Apple. They come to see its iconic sights, the Empire State Building, New Jersey's Liberty State Park, and the Coney Island Boardwalk. They stroll along Fifth Avenue and sprawling Central Park. They visit the Bronx Zoo and walk over the Brooklyn Bridge. Visitors are often struck by the juxtaposition of this bustling modern metropolis and the natural beauty of the region's ecological backdrop, the Hudson Raritan Estuary. Our nation's estuaries are unique places where fresh and saltwater mix, creating vibrant habitats for marine life and scenic spots for recreation. The New York City metro area is nestled within the Hudson Raritan Estuary, where the Hudson River meets the Atlantic Ocean. The estuary contains one of the most intricate natural harbors in the world. From the marshes of Jamaica Bay to the New Jersey meadowlands, the estuary is a diverse mosaic of habitats. It is home to hundreds of bird and fish species and thousands of plants. Dozens of them are designated as threatened or endangered. They include the red knot, piping plover, least tern, sea beach amaranth, and Atlantic sturgeon. The estuary acts as an important nursery and rest area for migratory birds along the long journey north on the Atlantic Flyway. The estuary is one of the world's premier examples of nature's resilience in a human-dominated landscape. Over 13 million people, 1 out of every 25 Americans, reside within a 25-mile radius of the Statue of Liberty. Many millions more do business in the region. Businesses in the New York City metro region generated $1.7 trillion in gross metro product in 2016. The Port of New York in New Jersey is the largest port on the east coast of North America and the third largest in the nation. To support the nation's waterborne commerce, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers completed deepening the harbor's channels to a depth of 50 feet in 2016. The fragile waters of the Hudson Raritan Estuary have been greatly changed by centuries of progress. Beginning in the early 17th century, wetlands, rivers, and shallow water habitats were filled, dredged, channeled, and dammed. The estuary was radically transformed in the 19th century as the region grew into the nation's epicenter of the American Industrial Revolution. Water quality suffered as the population expanded. Overfishing led to a massive decline in fish and shellfish. Introduced invasive species like Phragmites reedgrass still dominate many natural areas. In the 20th century, industrial chemicals such as PCBs, DDT, dioxin, and mercury were dumped in waterways, causing persistent contamination. 99% of the historic extent of freshwater wetlands and 85% of coastal wetlands have been lost. 2,000 acres of Jamaica Bay marsh islands have disappeared since the early 20th century alone. 200,000 acres of oysters in New York Harbor are now nearly extinct. Ecosystem services provided by the estuary, such as water quality improvement and storm surge buffering, are limited due to impairments. Climate change also threatens to change the landscape. With its complementary ecosystem restoration, navigation, and flood risk management missions, the Army Corps is a leader in collaborative water resource planning. Recognizing the need to address long-term degradation, Congress authorized the Army Corps in the 1990s to undertake 6 studies into how best to restore the estuary. To support this effort, the Army Corps and an interagency group finalized the Hudson Raritan Estuary Comprehensive Restoration Plan. The plan is the blueprint for the estuary's restoration. Since the 1990s, the Army Corps and its local sponsors have restored many imported areas to support the plan's goals. Dredged material from the Harbor Deepening Project was beneficially used to restore more than 160 acres of marsh islands. Shorelines fronting critical infrastructure were stabilized in Jamaica Bay. Offshore fishing reefs were created. The 6 studies were consolidated into one effort for efficiency. The resulting study's proposed plan calls for the restoration of coastal and freshwater wetlands, riparian habitat, oyster reefs, coastal and maritime forests, and fish passageways. The plan will provide an opportunity to address the long-term degradation of the estuary and achieve the shared vision of a world-class harbor estuary, with the complementary goals of achieving ecosystem restoration while enhancing resiliency, navigation, commercial viability, and security in the region. The Army Corps thanks its non-federal sponsors committed to completion of the feasibility study and restoration of the estuary.